Atheists, what do you believe in? Serious. There is no plan, no grand design. There is what happens and how we respond to it. Justice only exists to the extent we create it. We can't count on supernatural justice to balance the scales in the afterlife, so we need to do the best we can to make it work out in the here and now. My life and the life of every other human being is something that was extremely unlikely. That makes it rare, precious, and worth preserving. Nothing outside of us assigns meaning to our lives. We have to create meaning for our lives ourselves. Realistically, I think nothing happens. We literally experience nothing after death. Same thing that we experience before birth. We don't exist, so it's nothing. I think the tenet that we should follow while living is to try to be happy and healthy while minimizing the damage we do to each other. What I would like to happen after death is whatever you believe in exists. I think Christians should get to go to heaven if they truly believe in it. Hindus and Buddhists get reincarnated, and everyone else also gets to experience what they believe they will experience. I would still experience nothing. Maybe it's one of those things where at the moment of death their brain makes them experience what feels like an infinitely long moment in time where they experience their afterlife. I just think it would be neat for everybody.
Hey guys, much like you, I love reading people's stories on Ask Reddit. Unfortunately, there's a lot of weird middle school level, just thought experiment type hypotheticals like nice try Baskin Robbins. I don't find this compelling, so that's why I've made it my mission to trawl and crawl through Ask Reddit and find the very best content and put it in your ears. That's why I'm begging you, like and subscribe. If there's anything I can do to help you out, give you the kind of content that you crave to help you get through your workday, let me know in a comment. But please like and subscribe.
Just be a kind and empathetic person, not because you're worried about some cosmic justice, but because it's the right thing to do. If there's some being that created us, there's no way they actually care about believing in it or adhering to some rules from over 2,000 years ago. Also, a big thing for me is that I find the idea that you need religion or the Bible in order to have morals and ethics pretty dumb. It's pretty fucking clear that most evangelicals have neither. But my main thing is being a good person simply because, as George Costanza once said, we're living in a society. If you're only a good person in order to make it to heaven, you probably aren't actually a good and moral person. I feel this way about death. When I was 5, my grandfather died and my cousin Simple said, "He is dead, that means you are gone forever." Everything ends up dying, even plants and animals. I'm now in my October 1st, 2024 and still have this simplistic view of life and death. People think I'm ambivalent to life and death, but it's just what it is. I think a lot of religious people struggle to understand how people can content themselves with this. Too bleak. I'd rather live with an uncomfortable truth than a convenient untruth, though. This perspective means that you take responsibility for your life and don't just put everything down to God's will and things like fate. You also don't pin all of your hopes on an afterlife which will never happen. You live while you are alive because that's all you've got. Live a good life. If there are gods and they are just, then they will not care how devout you have been, but will welcome you based on the virtues you have lived by. If there are gods, but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, then you will be gone, but will have lived a noble life that will live on in the memories of your loved ones. Marcus Aurelius. When I was young, I used to think that after death you would have access to a PC that you could see absolutely anything about your life. Stats, any question you had, no matter how obscure, replays of moments, perspectives of others in relation to you. No matter what you wanted to know, if it was relatable to you, you could see it. I know it's silly, but as time goes on I just want it to be real, and I don't think I'd have any issue allowing myself to fall into that delusion. Why did pretty much all the replies to my comment get removed? This is something I've tried to explain to my religious friends. It's not that I don't want to believe in God, afterlife, of injustice, etc. It's that I don't believe. There's a difference. More power to any religious people who do believe in these things if it helps them get through life. Unless they're using their religion to justify harm, discomfort to others, which I know is not all religious people, but God if it isn't a loud portion of them. What's the point of going through the motions of using my time and energy in pretending to believe in something I frankly do not believe, when my time on this earth is so incredibly limited and all evidence points to it being the only one I got? Either I'm right and I maximize the one shot I get at existence, or I'm wrong and there is an afterlife. And if the creator of said afterlife is so petty that they ignore my actions all because I didn't worship them, then it wasn't a being worth worshipping in the first place, so what was the point of wasting my mortal life worshipping something objectively evil? This was always my argument at school. So if you're an atheist, but you devote your life to helping people, living a selfless life and caring for the environment, you go hell because you don't believe in Sky Daddy. But if you're a Christian and you're a horrible, greedy, selfish person who hurts people and destroys the environment, you go to heaven because you said, "Sorry, Jesus, I believe in you." God just sounds like an asshole then, and honestly I'd rather go to hell if that's how it all works. I think a lot of religious people struggle with the fact that we are all just swirling units of chaos. There is no grand plan or great orchestrator. I think that's why people who are prone to religion are also susceptible to things like QAnon and the Cabal and all that. They really want to believe that there is some almighty puppet master who determines all of humanity's fate.
This year, like I said, I'm having a midlife crisis. I've started a YouTube channel and I'm on a big health kick. One thing that I found is very easy to eat, very easy to prepare, is I heat up chickpeas with chicken broth and tikka masala. And there are two schools of thought about how you should eat beans. Some people believe you should buy the dry beans and soak them, but I tried that and it was a disaster. So I buy canned beans every time. And if I'm opening like 2 cans a day to be on this diet, it is a massive pain in the ass if the can has this jagged metal edge. You know, I'm worried if like little bits of metal are getting into my food and going to slice up my intestines. So I found this special can opener that actually opens the can in a way that is completely safe, no metal's getting in your food, and is 1,000 times better than any other can opener I've ever used. So if you wind up, opening a lot of cans for whatever reason, maybe you've got a cat or something, you must buy this can opener from my affiliate link.
Penn Jillette said it best, I think. The question I get asked by religious people all the time is, without God, what's to stop me from raping all I want? And my answer is, I do rape all I want. And the amount I want is 0. And I do murder all I want, and the amount I want is 0. The fact that these people think that if they didn't have this person watching over them that they would go on killing, raping rampages is the most self-damning thing I can imagine. That's the fast way to say what I usually say. I believe that if you have to believe in something, then that something isn't real. We don't have to believe in the sun to make it rise each day, or believe in math, or science, or engineering. But if someone says there's an invisible flying poster deity in the sky, you just have to take my word for it. Oh, and the book was written about it over 1,000 years ago, so it's totally fact. Just believe might. Then there's not really an invisible flying spaghetti monster. So yeah, nothing. Also a big thing for me is that I find the idea that you need religion or the Bible in order to have morals and ethics. It's just such a weird point to me because at the end of the day I'd always trust the person much more who acts kindly out of their own free will and not because they are afraid of someone's or a deity's punishment. Or as a religious person, when you think that all atheists are immoral, don't you admit or infer that religious people only act morally out of obedience or fear of punishment, not because they actually believe in the ethics? Right. I feel like people don't get this. Atheism does not have the same epistemological status as belief in a deity. One is a positive assertion of the existence of an unobservable entity or phenomenon. The other has nothing to do with positing the existence or non-existence of anything in particular. I'm an atheist in the same way as a rock is an atheist. It's been forever since I've read any of his work. I just know they talk about it a lot. In the Kane Chronicles, Zia I think is explaining the Egyptian underworld to Carter and Sadi, and one of them asks what happens if someone believes there is nothing after life, and Zia responds with then that's what they experience. The underworlds of Greek, Roman, Egyptian, and Norse mythology all coexist in the same universe in his books, so he had to explain that somehow. It's touched on a lot throughout the books, but I can't put any to memory because of how long it's been. A Jewish story about atheists is predicated on exactly that idea. A rabbi is teaching his student the Talmud, and explains that everything in this world is here to teach us a lesson. The student asks the rabbi what lesson we can learn from atheists. The rabbi tells him that we can learn the most important lesson of them all from atheists, the lesson of true compassion. You see, when an atheist performs an act of charity, visits someone who is sick, helps someone who is in need, and cares for the world, he is not doing so because of some religious teaching. He does not believe that God commanded him to perform this act. In fact, he does not believe in God at all, so his acts are based on an inner sense of morality and look at the kindness he can bestow upon others simply because he feels it to be right. This means, the rabbi continued, that when someone reaches out to you for help, you should never say, I pray that God will help you. Instead, for the moment, you should become an atheist. Imagine that there is no God who can help, and say, I will help you. This is more true than you think. My son almost has never been exposed to religion. Literally doesn't even know that religion, as a construct, even exists. He is not scared of ghosts, demons, hell, wrath of God, or even the judgment of white evangelicals shudder. I think it's hard for people within a religion to understand that for many of us atheists we simply live our lives without ever thinking of religion. It's not part of my normal day to say, you know what? I don't believe in God. I'm just out here blissfully living my life. There is nothing in this world preventing me from doing unspeakable things. Laws are just words. They have no meaning and only apply if you get caught. The law, in a sense, does not exist. There is no existential threat preventing me from doing anything. I follow the rule of law, fight for equal rights as much as I am able, and treat people in a manner in which I would like to be treated because I choose to. I choose to be, if not a good person, then a compassionate person because I choose to be. I believe in me. To put it more concrete, but perhaps confusingly, atheism is not anti-theism. An individual atheist may, but is not guaranteed to be, an anti-theist. In other words, non-believers can, but are not necessarily, against the idea of belief or other people's belief. This is before downstream effects of theism enters the discussion, such as arguably theistic laws or public policy, or arguably anti-theistic laws or public policy for that matter. You are something the whole universe is doing in the same way that a wave is something that the whole ocean is doing. The real you is not a puppet which life pushes around. The real, deep down you is the whole universe. So then, when you die, you're not going to have to put up with everlasting non-existing. Because that's not an experience. A lot of people are afraid that when they die they're going to be locked up in a dark room forever and sort of undergo that. But one of the most interesting things in the world, this is yoga. This is a way of realization. Try and imagine what it will be like to go to sleep and never wake up. Think about that. Children, think about that. It's one of the great wonders of life. What will it be like to go to sleep and never wake up? And if you think long enough about that, something will happen. You will find out, among other things, that it will pose the next question to you. What was it like to wake up after having never gone to sleep? That was when you were born. You see, you can't have an experience of nothing. Nature abhors a vacuum. So after you're dead, the only thing that can happen is the same experience, or the same sort of experience of before you were born. In other words, we all know very well that after people die, other people are born. And they're all you, only you can only experience one at a time. Everybody is I, you all you're you. And wherever beings exist throughout all galaxies, it doesn't make a difference. You are all of them, and when they come into being, fats, you come into being. You know that very well. Only you don't have to remember the past in the same way you don't have to think about your work, thyroid gland, or whatever else it is in your organism. You don't have to know how to shine the sun. You just do it. Like you breathe. Doesn't it really astonish you that you are the fantastically complex thing and that you're doing all of this and you never had any education on how to do it? Alan Watts, the real you.
If there's ever a fly or a mosquito or like a yellow jacket or some weird unknown insect in my house, my wife will not leave me alone until it is dead, and she will blame me personally for having a house that an insect entered. The only way that I'm able to buy peace for myself so that I can work on this YouTube channel that you enjoy is by using an electric fly swatter with an affiliate link in the description. The way this fly swatter works is that you hold down the little button and then you whack the fly as if it were a tennis ball, and it looks like a tennis racket. And what the electricity does is it stuns the insect or kills it so that you can clean it up easily. And the fact that it's a tennis racket gives you a much better chance of actually hitting the insect. And I found it invaluable, and I hope that you will decide to also use it in your home. And, if you're like a teenage boy, you can also whack other teenage boys with it. We used to do that in the Boy Scouts.
I don't believe in anything, because that requires faith in the absence of evidence. I understand scientific research and culture helps to provide structure to how we see the world, but even this is just a system of theories that are constantly being revised and updated and replaced. I had a friend in high school who asked me, with complete sincerity, if you don't believe in hell, why aren't you just going around raping people? Because it's fucked up and horrible. I don't need to imagine punishment to refrain from being an absolute monster. I mean, philosophy and ethics aside, thousands of years of evolution have conspired to make me mostly a decent person who enjoys helping people and doing nice things. Society wouldn't last long, and neither would we, if most or all of us have no built-in inhibitions or moral compass. I don't even think that conflicts with the potential existence of a god. That's just how things work. Even non-religious people struggle with this. I teach college and graduate level biology courses, and the inherent randomness by which living beings came to be and continue to function is by far the most difficult concept for students to comprehend. Even when they accept it at an intellectual level, it's extremely difficult to have an initiative feel for it. Even biology professors struggle with this, which is why you often see biology concept described in teleological and anthropic ways. I've seen quite a few Ask Reddit posts lately about what changed someone from religious mostly along the lines of being raised that way to non-religious, and there were multiple people who said that when they found themselves in hard times, it was their non-religious friends who were willing to jump in and offer tangible help, while religious friends offered thoughts and prayers for them. Yeah, this about sums it up. Also to add, when we die, it's the exact same experience as before we were born. That is to say, non-existence. It's not like I expect to be sitting in some black void for eternity. I won't exist anymore, and neither will any of you when you die.
I turned 36 this year, and I decided to focus on my physical fitness, so I bought a swim club membership. The only problem was, most of the time when I go swimming, I wind up getting an ear infection. So it turns out that normal earplugs, they kind of irritate your ear canal, they don't really work, they don't keep the water out. But there is an amazing kind of earplug called Mack's Pillow Soft Silicone earplugs that, they feel great, they keep the water out 100%, they're reusable, and they don't irritate your ear canal at all, no issues. If you've ever had a severe ear infection, you don't want to experience that again. It can permanently damage your hearing if you're unlucky. So investing in these earplugs is definitely a good idea. Also, when my baby was crying later this year and I could not get to sleep, I used the same earplugs and they worked great. I was able to sleep right next to a crying baby. So be sure to click my affiliate link and purchase some of these Mack's earplugs today.